Chris Cuomo here. Welcome to News Nation, where right and left come to be reasonable. Thank you again for making News Nation the fastest growing cable channel this year. So we got a very important show tonight. The three Americans, I didn't bring them in to talk about Diddy, but we will, and we'll talk about our political situation and what's happening with this big bill. Got Stephen A. Smith, got Bill O'Reilly, and got James Carville, and I am grateful for each and all. But first, you had to hear about the Diddy verdict, right? I submit that this verdict, that this case was more about the government and less a judgment about Sean Diddy Combs. 8 men and 4 women found that the government overreached. They made a federal crime out of Diddy's immoral lifestyle. He was convicted on 2 charges of paying for sex workers to cross state lines, which by all lights, he did. He's guilty. But all this for that? A law originally from 1910 that was called the White Slave Act, that was really just about, the government kind of censoring relationships they didn't like. Not that human trafficking isn't real, but human trafficking implies what? That you're taking people who don't want to be taken and doing things to them that they don't want done. Okay? No one here said that they didn't want to go. They were adults as far as we know. So was it illegal? Federally, yes. Is it worth all this? The jury said, basically, no. This case proves that people don't buy what the government says anymore, and they're not wrong to feel that way. A guy just said to me on the subway, they painted Diddy like Gotti and got. Sure, New York City speak maybe, but it's a pretty accurate portrayal. The government wanted you to believe that Diddy was like John Gotti, that he was a one-man criminal organization. So they used a law for criminal organizations, RICO, to trump up the charges, okay? And the jury rejected it, as well as rejecting the idea that Diddy was guilty of sex trafficking Cassie Ventura and another woman, the unnamed girlfriend, Jane. Now, I had a suspicion this was gonna go this way, and not because I don't think that what Diddy was up to or about is wrong, is objectionable, is something I'd want to beat him up for. But it's because it clearly didn't meet the standards of the charges that the prosecutors were going for. Diddy is guilty of abusing Cassie physically, probably emotionally, and psychologically. And we all saw it, and clearly that was the root of this case for the feds. But it wasn't even a charge. They obviously had nothing else. So then the judge denies bail. Now, at least he had a basis, okay? Diddy didn't meet the burden for bail to this judge's satisfaction before the trial, so nothing had changed since then for him. I get it. But how often do guys get held on a prostitution charge? And after this many months, like 10 months in prison? Will this case be a turning point on lawfare? That's my question tonight. Again, for all the rumors about Diddy, we know what was proven, okay? Diddy assaulted Cassie Ventura, and we all saw it. The judge used that in his decision. The judge said that that video highlights a disregard for the rule of law and a propensity for violence. Fair, fair. But you're withholding bail for actions that were not part of the case against him. Think about that. Is that okay? Or are we confusing legality with a preference for a certain kind of morality? Is that the court of public opinion bleeding in to what our prosecutions become? Cases like this are part of why there is a growing distrust in government and institutions. 1 in 3 of us today trust the judicial system. 10 years ago, it was 2 in 3. And I believe a case like this, it doesn't matter how you feel about Diddy. It's easy to condemn him. You have the proof, but that doesn't make it a crime. Allegations are not enough. Show me the man and I will find you the crime. You know where that came from? A Russian intel chief. That's for them, that standard. It should not be the American way. I said this case was weak, just like the New York cases against President Trump, just like the indictment of Mayor Adams. Not because I like any or all of them, or because I am okay with what any of them actually did, but because behavior is not enough. A crime should mean something serious and should be proven. Okay? That's what America is about. It's not what this case was about. I want to bring in one of Sean Combs' longtime attorneys, Mark Geragos, also my attorney. He met with Combs privately right ahead of the verdicts being read. Mark's daughter, Tenny Geragos, was one of the lead attorneys on this case. Tenny, Mark's daughter, spoke outside the court just before the show. She's way more interesting than he is. Here's what she said.
I first want to thank my client, Sean Combs, for trusting us, myself and everybody here, this incredible dream team that he put together. I've been saying this since the beginning of this case. Sean Combs has not sexually assaulted anybody. I've been saying this for months. We've said it with each lawsuit that came out, and today that was proven true.
Counsel, what did you think when you learned yesterday that they were locked on RICO but had decided on 4 of the other charges? What did that mean to you?
Until I read the note, I wasn't feeling great. Once I read the note, I'll show you how deep in the weeds in reading the tea leaves. When I saw jurors, plural, opinions, plural, and unpersuadable, that convinced me that they had found him not guilty on the more serious charges. And why do I say that? Because I figured at that point, who, if they had voted guilty across the other 4, was going to fight for the RICO? I just didn't think that made any sense. And sure enough, that's exactly the way it turned out. Unpersuadable yesterday, after about an hour and a half this morning, they came back, and I will tell you, as a helicopter parent watching it, and you just saw Tenny, their force of nature that she is, I couldn't be happier for her, for my granddaughter that is in her womb, for the client, for his daughters. You know, I met with him. I won't talk about what we said, but we both shed a tear or two over our respective daughters today.
Tough spot for his daughters, that's for sure. Not because of what their criminality is, but because of what the underlying behavior was. You and I have talked on TV and off TV about what bothered us about this case, regardless of your daughter's involvement. It's that it seemed like they were trying to, they wanted him. They wanted him. That search proved that they wanted him, and that they were trying to build a case around him because they didn't like the video that none of us likes. And no one should like that video, and he shouldn't have lied about it, but none of that is what a federal case is supposed to be about. Do you believe that this jury was making that statement, and you think we'll hear that from them when they speak?
Well, I won't even venture to predict what a juror will say. I will say that clearly the jurors had seen through this. You know, one of the interesting things as I was sitting here in New York is the presentation by the prosecution, and I've been excoriated for my labeling of the prosecutors in this case, and I don't want to go there. But you know, there was some pearl clutching here, and it seemed like the kind of the morality police to me. It just made no sense. Then this weekend, I was walking from the office to where I stay, which is about 1.5 miles, but it took me about 3 or 4 hours because of the Pride Parade. And one of the great things about New York City on the Pride Sunday is this kind of celebratory Mardi Gras festival-like atmosphere. And it struck me then, as I was in that teeming mass of humanity for 3 or 4 hours, is this is probably the last place on earth, maybe LA is number 2, where you're going to start talking about what people are doing in their hotel rooms and consensually and having threesomes and things of that nature. It just seemed to me to be kind of tone deaf, if you will, and really kind of a characterization of and a misuse of resources federally. And to the defense of the current administration here in the Southern District, this case was brought under a previous U.S. attorney, not the current U.S. attorney. He got the cards he was dealt, and so I get that, and so from the client's standpoint doesn't really matter, but give the current administration credit. They called it out early on when they were talking about Mayor Adams, and they specifically mentioned this case as well as being kind of an ill-conceived, ill-brought case.
So the Mann Act is real, as modified in 1986, and there is a healthy sentence that can be nailed for each count. What is your concern about what the sentence will be for basically him paying prostitutes to do what they had chosen to do?
Well, look, the Mann Act, for those who don't remember, I think most famously was brought against the heavyweight boxer, African-American, who had a white girlfriend over 100 years ago.
Johnson.
For a white woman. Then famously against Chuck Berry, and most recently against R. Kelly. But at least with R. Kelly, the allegation was minors. I mean, think about it. The former governor of this state was also what the old term was a John, Elliot Spitzer. They never prosecuted him, but they're prosecuting Sean Combs. I mean, a cynic might say this is a prosecution by proxy. The statute of limitations had expired on the Cassie video. It wasn't in this jurisdiction. So why don't we kind of prosecute him here? But interestingly, I'm not so sure that there isn't some legal infirmities, and they'll explore that. The team is quite accomplished, and I just don't think that this is a case when you were facing life, when you were offered whatever the offer was, some crazy amount of decades in a so-called plea bargain that was really illusory, and you faced it down and you said no, and you beat the sex trafficking, which are mandatory minimums of 15 years with your ex-longtime girlfriends, and you beat the RICO, which, as you said in your setup, is usually reserved for organized crime. I had a friend, Harlan Braun, who used to always say the difference between the U.S. Attorney's Office and the mafia is even the mafia spares the women and children. Here you've got they were using the RICO action to try to bludge him.
Mark Geragos, congratulations to your daughter. And again, I understand why you were upset about this case. I'm not a friend of Diddy. I don't really know him. I'm certainly not a fan. I don't like what he was about, but that doesn't make him guilty of a federal crime. Thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you.
All right, so now to the cultural implications of this. I asked for Ray J to come back on tonight, and I'm glad he said yes, okay? He's known Diddy for decades, and I wanted to bring Ray J back in. Ray J, thank you for being with us. And the reason I wanted you is I was interested in your reaction to this because while you were very even-handed, I felt, in your assessment of the man, you were concerned about the culture. And are you worried now that this verdict or lack of a guilty verdict may continue a culture that you're concerned about?
Absolutely. I look at all the other young entrepreneurs. I look at other people in other genres of, business, and they don't have this same kind of publicity. And a lot of people at the top, when you get mad, you make a statement. And this is what it was. I know everybody sees that, and honestly, like, if I really had a crazy big sponsor, or I was backed by this, this sponsor that had, an agenda, then there were certain things I could or couldn't say or do. And so, you do wrong, well, look at what happens. Even now, I mean, they should let Puffy out now. I mean, to have him guilty of that, not that, but this, still shows a W in certain areas of this whole thing, because he could still get 3 years, 10 years. You just don't know. I feel like time served is enough. But who knows? It could be a curveball, and now he's doing 10 flat. And then Trump would have to pardon him, So it's a celebration. I see everybody saying it's a celebration, but at the same time, how? When he's not out yet, and then the last two counts are still super bogus, If this was a domestic violence case, it'd be a problem because that's what this was.
Right.
But federal and exposing all of the private things that people do in their own homes with people, for the girls, which much love to all of them. You know, for them to be able to go home at night, come back, say I want a job, like that's not what that was. Mm-hmm. That's not what he's accused of. It was bad, but it's not that, and so it's scary. Because what's next? I know what's next. I know what's next.
What's next?
But when the wave comes, it's coming. The waves are coming. And it's scary. I'm literally, you know, just trying to make sure that what we do is on a positive note. Like, we don't want no problems. But everybody got to stand up for something or you'll fall for anything. Like that picture right there. Like, what? Did he do that in the courtroom? Like, go down on his knees and bend down all under the table like that? Like, I'm confused on what that is right there, because I'm like,
that's what that is. That's why it's so
artwork.
That's why it's so stupid that we don't have cameras in the courtroom. We got to rely on these stupid chalk drawings to understand things. That we've reached a point in I think our cultural development where people want transparency and access, and that's why I was interested in your take, because you said, look, there are parts of the culture that Diddy participated in, that he may represent, that you don't like and you think needs to change. Do you think the fact that he walked on the serious charges will make it more likely that that culture of abusing young artists may continue?
I just think that we need mentorship. I think everything continues. It gets worse until, you know, we create mentorship programs for all of the youth, whether you're in the entertainment or not, to try to control yourself. As you rise to the top, how do you control yourself when you're making money, when you're able to help people, but instead you hurt people? Like, where are the courses for these kind of things? We don't have them. A lot of our mentors that we look up to maybe not have the time or don't see the villains as worth their while. They don't think that the turned up villains are worth their while. But you know,
I got it, and I appreciate your guidance during this process. And you being kind of a Virgil for us, of talking to us about a world that many only hear about, but they never live in. Thank you, and thank you for being with me tonight.
Thank you, thank you. I hate that picture under the table. Yeah, it's crazy.
Me too. We should have had cameras in there, and then we wouldn't have had to be looking at this stuff in the first place. No disrespect to the artist, but yeah, that's what he did. He went under the table because he was thrown by the decision. Anyway, Ray J, I'll talk to you soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, bud. Be well. 4 minutes and 35 seconds. So, the jury's decision rejecting this prosecution, am I right about it? Does this tell us where we are in terms of how people feel about what they can trust? All right? I want to bring in the three Americans, Stephen A. Smith, Bill O'Reilly, and James Carville. Get a take on this, but then let's talk about what the state of our politics is. There have been some big moves recently with our budget and with the personnel around the president that needs some review. All right, let's bring in the three Americans. Bill O'Reilly, host of the Stephen A. Smith Show, Stephen A. Smith himself, and Democratic strategist James Carville. Of the three of you, Stephen A., I know you were covering the Diddy situation. What do you make of my assessment that this jury was rejecting not just the facts in the case, but the prosecution's overreach?
Well, that's a plausible argument. I'm not going to deny that. It clearly appears that the prosecution did overreach. You had lawyers all over the place swearing that's exactly what happened with the Southern District of New York, and there's no way around it. I mean, we heard some very disgusting things throughout the trial, things that I don't think, from an image perspective, Sean Diddy Combs can recover from. But let me tell you something: he doesn't give a damn about that today. Nope. What he cares about is that he knows that the worst case scenario doesn't involve him spending the rest of his life in prison, because sex trafficking and RICO charges he was acquitted of. And so as a result of all that we heard, I just saw Ray J saying what he said, and the one point that I'd like to peel from that is that you do find yourself looking at the court system, and in this particular instance, the Southern District of New York, and you find yourself saying to them, You tried to convict him in the court of public opinion because you certainly succeeded in that. All of us look at him with far more than a raised eyebrow. But that wasn't the district attorney's office job. Your job was to get him convicted in the court of law. And you didn't pull it off because your case wasn't strong enough in the eyes of 12 jurors who said there's no way on earth they should send this man to prison for the rest of his natural life because you didn't prove a case of sex trafficking or racketeering.
Right. And, you know, it'd be one thing if it was even the district attorney. This was the attorney general. This was the federal courts. And for them to do it this way was a big swing and a miss. I mean, you know, he's a guy who did bad things and everybody knows it, but it doesn't mean that they met this burden. All right, so let's talk about perception and reality on another very big front of our budgeting process. James Carville, there is a notion that Bill O'Reilly will certainly defend tonight that you got to pass this bill or we will go into a recession. What do you make of that?
Well, you pass it, we'll probably go into a recession. If you don't pass it, we'll probably go into a recession. I'm not totally sure it's related, but I think Bill is correct. I mean, the Republicans don't have much choice. They got to pass something. I mean, they just can't pass gas. And when it's finally said and done, I don't know what it's going to look like, but it'll look like something. But it seems to be a pretty tough vote count to face with right now.
Bill, you say he has to pass this, but it seems that it is such a disappointment on the spending side that where is the win in this for Trump?
The win is that he gets an economy that will make Republicans win the midterm so he can have 3.5 more years to do what he wants. It's simple as that. I just want to say one thing about the Sean Combs situation.
Oh, sure.
I interviewed him way back. And I never liked him. I don't like the culture or anything like that. But he's going to get the maximum. The judge will give him the maximum, just like they gave O.J. Simpson the maximum in Vegas, because he got off Simpson in L.A. when he clearly killed these two people. And then when he got a second crack at him on a minor beef, relatively, of theft, they sentenced him to heavy time. So Diddy will go to prison, and he should. He's evil. And I say that because I just wrote a book called Confronting Evil.
Yeah,
he used narcotics and violence to coerce people to do what he wanted to do. That's evil. Sorry.
Go ahead,
Okay,
Stephen.
Now, back to Trump.
Well, hold on. Stephen wants to weigh in on what you just said. Go ahead.
No.
Okay.
Only thing I want to weigh in, I don't want to castigate the entire culture. I'm tired of, we see pictures of a few bad apples conducting themselves in very disgusting manners and thinking that that's the entire industry. I'm a guy that was raised in the hip-hop industry. I know an abundance of hip-hop artists and beyond who have never engaged in, never been accused of, never would think of putting themselves in the kind of positions some have obviously done. So I just want to make sure that we're not castigating everybody. I know you don't like the culture. I don't expect you to like the culture, Bill O'Reilly. You're considerably older than some of us. You look good. You're healthy, thank God. But you're from a different generation. I understand that. But for people like me who grew up in the hip-hop culture, I know a whole bunch of people that would never get themselves tangled up in such a web. A whole bunch.
It's not about personal behavior for the hip-hop industry. It's about the message. And I'm old enough to now school you, Stephen A. If Motown still exists, and that's where I grew up, okay, the black African-American culture would be a much, let's say, gentler. This hip-hop garbage on impressionable children who don't have supervision in the home teaches them to be crude. Motown did not do that. So if you step back and look at history, the industry of R&B was a tremendous positive for this country. The hip-hop industry has been a tremendous negative for this country.
Well, listen, I gotta say one thing, and then I want to move off this. We can do it another time. My kids...
we can do it another time.
As with Stephen A., when I think of hip-hop, I think of Chuck D. Who's a very good friend of mine and a mentor and a man of incredible integrity. I think of Tribe Called Quest. I mean, there are just so many great people within that culture. I get what you think about the message, but that's been said about music, from one generation to the next again and again. I'll tell you this. I'll tell you this, Bill.
Read the lyrics.
As somebody, of course I read the lyrics. I know the lyrics. I sing the lyrics. What I'm saying is, What I'm saying
They're
is this,
crude,
Bill, you don't have to like
generally
it.
speaking.
But there's a lot of crude music. And as somebody with 3 kids who grew up in
No, there's
hip-hop,
not.
in the hip-hop era, as white kids, it has given them a cultural commonality that I think only benefits us. But let's put that to the side for now. There's an assertion about this bill, James, which is if you pass this bill, the tax cuts, which is what he's talking about, Bill O'Reilly, they will give us a strong economy because they did it the first time. Do you accept that premise?
Absolutely not. There is no evidence that cutting taxes on rich people does anything but explode the deficit. You know, I remember, Chris, you were old enough to remember 1993 when we passed the Clinton economic passage, which, by the way, led to the most booming economic time since World War II. I mean, it's been proven so many times that the only thing that this is going to accomplish is going to put $3.3 trillion in more debt, which is going to cause interest rates to go up, which is going to cause the cost of living to go up, which is going to crush people. This bill is 25 points underwater, and it's going to go deeper. It's going to drown a lot of people, I promise you.
Bill.
The American consumer will have more money in his or her pockets if the bill is passed. If it's not passed, then the tax hikes take effect at the end of this year, which is going to doom the economy. Now, if you look at what happened the first time around, and if you look at the tariffs, the exact words that James just used, spike of inflation and this and that was supposed to happen with the tariffs. Of course, that did not happen. So what I'm telling everyone is this. Consumers drive the U.S. economy. The more money consumers have, the better the economy will be. If you take more money from them through elevated taxation, you're dooming the economy. And there are no cuts for the rich. All this does is keep what was legislated in 2017.
Which were cuts for the rich
well,
back then.
Well, it just keeps the cuts.
Yeah, I get it.
That's your opinion.
It's not an opinion. It was
That's your opinion.
It was 85 cents of every dollar of cut went to the top. I got it because I'm in that cut. I know exactly what it did, and now they're going to give me my SALT taxes back, which I'm very happy about. But it's good for the top.
The
it's not
brackets
necessarily
are the
better.
brackets.
I know. I'm just saying. I'm in the top bracket. I get it.
You're twisting it.
I'm not twisting it.
You're twisting it. The brackets will stay the same.
I know.
The same.
And
that's what it will do.
I know.
No, there's no more tax cuts for the rich. It's small businesses.
It's not small businesses.
Pass-throughs. Yes, it is. It's pass-throughs for small business.
Pass-throughs if you are very successful and make enough money with your pass-throughs so that you're in the top bracket, which overwhelmingly most small business people do not. Stephen A.
It helps business across
Bill O'Reilly.
the board. Go ahead. Yes, Stephen.
Bill O'Reilly, you know, I'm going to do something I've never done on TV. I've got enough jobs. I've got enough of a busy schedule, but I'm going to make time to come on your show to debate you, okay, about some of the stuff that has come out of your mouth this evening. This is sensational stuff, and it's good to see you, James. It's good to see you, buddy. Let me touch on this on a couple of ways. Number one, when you talk about how it's not going to it's not going to mean tax breaks for the rich. Well, Trump himself said it's going to be tax breaks for everybody across the board. That's what he's talking about, preserving the 2017 tax cuts. That's number one.
Across the board.
Number two, hold on. Excuse me, that's what he said. But it includes them. Now, let's understand this also. You're also somebody that wrote about how representatives are held hostage because guess what? You said, notice that not one single Democrat has voted for the big, beautiful bill. And now that Trump, you saw how he turned against Representative, how he turned against Massey and others, right? Because they're at the mercy of Trump because their careers will be ruined. Well, why are Republicans having a problem with this bill? If it's going to institute or keep the tax cuts in place, if it's going to be for a better economy, if it's going to stimulate the economy and help most Americans, why are the Republicans being resistant to Donald Trump? I didn't hear you address that, Bill, and I want to.
I wasn't asked the question, Stephen A., and it's an easy answer.
It's my fault.
Okay? Because they want more cuts to government. Massey wants more. Rand Paul wants more. They bought Murkowski in Alaska, and that's how it got through the Senate. They bought her.
Yeah, they bought her.
She admits it. All I have to do is write for Alaska. They gave me all kinds of stuff, so I said yes.
So she gets the pass with her constituents.
System.
It is.
Both parties are held hostage to the power
The parties are killing us. The parties are killing us.
Trump, he's going to primary you.
The parties are killing us.
You go against Schumer, he's going to dry up your money. Okay? That's the way it is. It's wrong. Shouldn't be that way.
You're right.
But let's live in the real world. And you'll get the real world, Stephen A., when you come on the No Spin News with your dopey take about hip-hop.
I'm coming.
I'm defending Motown. I can't wait for that debate.
I'm looking forward to it.
I will actually,
some of the stuff that's come out of your mouth tonight.
I'll actually watch that one.
I can't wait.
All right, let me take a break.
Okay.
When I come back, I want Bill O'Reilly to explain to us what's going on with the administration's picks and what it means for where our course is forward. It's good to have James, it's good to have Stephen A., and it's always good to have Bill. We'll be right back after this. All right, I'm back with my three betters, Stephen A. Smith, James Carville, and Bill O'Reilly. Good to have each and all of you. Thank you for joining me tonight. And thank you for helping make possible what's on the bottom of the screen right now. I don't know if you guys can see it, but News Nation is the fastest growing cable channel year over year. And that's because we have the blessing of getting formidable voices who come on, make us relevant. Thank you very much, James, Stephen, and certainly you, Bill. You do it most often and best. Thank you.
Hold on. I'm interjecting. I know it's not my show. I apologize. But I'm interjecting by saying this. It's growing to that rate because of you, Chris Cuomo. No disrespect to anybody else on News Nation. Don't get it twisted.
No way you were just going to say that. There's no way you were just going to say that.
Cuomo.
No, nobody believes it. My own mother doesn't believe that.
Nobody else.
No.
It's just
and
Cuomo.
Dusty, one of the best
and
producers
you know how
in the
I know,
business.
Stephen A.?
Both.
Dusty, Dusty loves you now. That's the first time I've heard Dusty pay attention in the show tonight, is when you just said that, by the way. Dusty's like, I love that Stephen A.
Stephen A., you know how I know that you're right, that it's all Cuomo? Because Cuomo told me.
Listen, let me ask you something, and I think this should be a layup. I don't understand.
I want to hear from James.
Bill, with all the people that you can get to come into an administration and to work, why this Ingracia kid when you know that bringing someone in like this to lead an independent agency of the special counsel, you know that this was going to get rained on because he is wacko adjacent. Why would you pick a young guy with no pedigree who does stupid stuff on a regular basis?
I've gone over this before, Cuomo, so take notes so I don't have to go over it again.
Hold on, let me get my glasses.
President Trump gets bored. So he says, how can I cause trouble? I taught high school. I had students like that in my class. They got bored. They wanted to cause mayhem. He's bored. He says, I'll do this. It doesn't mean anything to anybody, but I know the press will go crazy. It's like saying, I'm going to put crocodiles in the Rio Grande River. Okay? He's not going to put crocodiles in the river, but he knows the press will go crazy. He is bear baiting the media with this stuff. He knows it doesn't mean anything. This guy, I don't even know who he is. He'll go in, they'll give him an apple and a glass of water, and he won't do anything. I can guarantee it.
So, James, Office of the Special Counsel is usually seen as, giving major opinions. Like, for instance, the special counsel's office is where we got the opinion that a sitting president can't really be prosecuted. This was their guidance from the 1980s. That's the office he's going to lead. He's 30 years old, likes Alex Jones, likes to defend white nationalists. Do you think this is just to own the media and get you guys crazy?
So let me be very careful here. There's a guy that is appointed in charge of counterterrorism at the Department of Homeland by the name of Thomas Fugate. Look him up. This guy looks like George C. Marshall next to Thomas Fugate. Now, please, let's don't say the head of counterterrorism is just a throwaway position, because I've listened to people all the time about what a threat terrorism is. You have a 22-year-old produce stacker that is running the Department of Homeland Security's counterterrorism division. Now you got this guy who's I think was a Holocaust denier. Mm-hmm. You could not exist in the Democratic Party in any position if you were a Holocaust denier. I don't think you could. I know you would have any support from me. You would get no defense from me. And you'd say, this is an outrage that this man holds any position in the United States government.
I'm coming to you, Stephen A., but I would point one thing out for the Democrats watching. In a most recent poll, your party went from plus 14 points in terms of being empathetic towards Israel after October 7th to now plus 43 points positive for Palestinians in that balance. So there's a shift in that party's sympathies on that issue. But back to this, Stephen A., what do you think of this appointment? Is it a smart move by Trump because he gets us talking about something that doesn't matter?
It has nothing to do with smart or dumb. And James Carville, we're aligned tonight, my brother. Just step aside, figuratively speaking, while I aim my thoughts at Bill O'Reilly. I know you didn't just try to come on national television, Bill O'Reilly, and get away with this. Now, you know good and damn well what Trump is doing here. Here's what Trump is doing, y'all. Excuse me, somebody that was a part of the whole January 6th. Some people want to call it an insurrection. Some people don't. What is Trump doing when he appoints this guy as a federal watchdog? It's the latest maneuver in validating in his mind how much of a robbery it was that he didn't win re-election in 2020, and the fact that the insurrection took place in the nation's capital, at the U.S. Capitol. It's every single move he makes is to point to the fact he never believed he should have lost. He believes that them storming the Capitol was completely justified because it was more than egregious that he didn't stay in as the 46th president of the United States of America. And by the way, anybody else you see him appoint, they might have been at the U.S. Capitol January 6th of 2021 too. Keep it. He's not finished. This is what he's trying to do. And you know it, Bill, because you know him. And I'm not saying, see, this is what the key, this is the key. Ladies and gentlemen, Bill O'Reilly's not lying to you. He's not lying to you when he points out the other elements of Trump, but they're the most innocuous things. They're the kind of things that make you go, okay, all right. But the real juicy stuff that involves this man and his thinking, oh, you gonna leave that out. Stop it, Bill. You know what he's doing.
Well, I couldn't leave it out.
We're gonna see some more people from the U.S. Capitol that's on it. Oh, come on, man. Stop it. You left
listen,
that out.
He could be appointing you, Stephen A. Loves you, okay? You could get a big position in there. Look, you're not wrong about it.
He is our president.
You're not wrong about it. You're not wrong about it, but it's tiresome. Trump pardoned all of these people. All right, what more do you want? He's sympathetic with them. Yeah, there's no denying it. Nobody could, honest person.
What you just said.
Yeah.
You just talked about how he said he's going to throw alligators in the swamp, even though you know he's not going to do it because it's going to annoy everybody, right? He wants the reaction.
Right.
If you react on what he's doing with appointments like this, you might not pay attention to the tariffs. You might not pay attention to Ukraine and Russia. You might not pay attention to the big, beautiful bill and some of the elements that exist within it. There's a whole bunch of things. It's a basic tactic. You trying to tell me he's beyond doing that?
The only people who would fall for that would be the MSNBC viewers. So I mean, and there's not very many of them.
Let me take a break. Look, when I come back, I want to talk. Go ahead, finish your point, Bill. I'm sorry, finish your point.
Yeah, Smith is right about Trump's obsession with losing 20 and the Capitol riot. He's right about it.
Thank you, Bill. I'll use that as a segue. Carville's got worries about the midterms.
He still ain't getting off the hook. I'm still coming on the show.
I want to be there. I want to be there, by the way. Lunch is on me.
Yeah, he's not getting, Bill O'Reilly is not getting away with this. I'm coming on Bill O'Reilly's show.
Lunch is on me, and Carville's going to cook it. Carville's going to make the lunch, and I'm going to pay for it. But we're going to take a break. When we come back, Carville's got worries about the midterms and the president's, his posture towards it. And I'll tell you why News Nation is number one. I said Office of Special Counsel gave the opinion about prosecuting a president while in office. No, it was the Office of Legal Counsel. Office of Special Counsel enforces rules for civil servants. Very important. Like the Hatch Act, which has been relevant in the first Trump administration. Distinction with a difference, corrected. We move on. Talk to you next. No need to take any Relaxium on tonight's show because O'Reilly, Smith, and Carville are cooking with gas. James Carville, you were on my old buddy Jim Acosta's show, and you said, hey, people tell you they're worried about the midterms, and you say you should be because there's a good chance that Trump will try to pull something. What do you think is going to happen?
Well, I don't know. What I think is going to happen is Virginia and New Jersey are going to be Democratic blowouts. And I think he's going to read the election records. By the way, there are more people that live in Virginia and New Jersey than live in New York City. And we ought to talk also, you know, we talk about things that happen in New York City. We should talk about we got Sterling candidates also in Virginia and New Jersey. And I think he's going to see this big, beautiful bill is about 25 points underwater. It's going to be 30 points underwater. He's going to see a massive defeat coming, and he's going to try to do anything he can to extricate himself from that defeat. And I would not put it at all past him to try to call martial law or declare that there's some kind of national emergency in the country or anything like that, because the hoof prints are coming. You can hear them, and they're going to get a shellacking in November of 2026.
Bill O'Reilly, do you believe the President of the United States is capable of such perfidy as suggested by James Carville?
Well, after hearing Carville, I'm buying a condo in Luxembourg tomorrow. I'm getting out. Martial law, my God. You're going to have tanks in my driveway? No, I don't believe that will happen. I'm willing to bet James 18 muffalettas that there will not be martial law. I'll throw in some crawfish and whatever else he wants. And this kind of, I don't know, scare tactic, would that be it? I'm not scared. Maybe Stephen A's a little scared. He's got a little perspiration there on his forehead. But I'm not worried about cheating or anything else. I think that the economy will dictate who wins in the midterms. And if the big bill gets passed, people have more money in their pockets. They won't have to worry. Small businesses will hire more because they won't have to worry about higher taxes. The rich, the fabulous rich, will spend more, buy more luxury items. And I want to go on the record as scolding Jeff Bezos, the publisher of the Washington Post. He spends $50 million in Venice. Isn't there anywhere in the USA, Jeff, baby?
Couldn't have done it at the Venetian in Vegas? He could have done it at the Venetian in Vegas. Same thing. Thing.
Come on. Oprah would have gone anywhere. Anywhere.
So Stephen A.
You could do it. You could have done it.
Stephen A. Where is your scareometer on what happens in the midterms?
Well, it's at about a 5, but let me first say this, Bill. The head is shiny when you have a receding hairline. I'll admit that.
I don't make any hair comments.
I have to confess that I have to confess.
We're like the stages of grief on this show.
If I should say, I think I'm quite handsome, if I should say so myself. So I'm gonna get that out of the way. That's number one. Number two, let me push back a little bit on James with this one point that he's making. You know, you've forgotten more politics than I know. So I totally respect your knowledge and where you're coming from, James. Here's the one thing that I would say, however. Let's not underrate the Democrats' ability to mess this up for themselves. Let's take into account Hamdani, who just won the Democratic nomination for the mayor's position in New York City. You've got a guy that's an avowed, renowned Democratic socialist. You've got people like AOC and Bernie Sanders supporting him. When Bill brings up the economy, I mean, it comes from you, James, maybe not that direct quote, but it's the economy, stupid. We've always remembered this, from the 90s with Clinton and what have you. And when you as a party are focusing your attention on that, believing that that is something that can sift through the United States of America and appeal somehow to voters across this country, that's a sad, big-time mistake that the Democrats are absolutely potentially capable of making. I don't think that can be ignored. If what you're saying, James, is true, and the focus is on the economy, and some folks who are left, but center-left, maybe a tilt more left, but not far progressive left, you're right. But I don't put it past the Democrats, some members of the Democratic Party, to mess it up for the collective whole. And that is what I think can get in the way without Trump having to resort to anything that you intimated.
Well, let me briefly say, and Donnie, one thing he did, he ran an economy. His whole campaign was based on the cost of living. Right? He didn't run on any of this kind of social stuff. I mean, let's give the guy credit. He was very disciplined. He was very
That's fair.
People evaluated everything else. He ran as an economic progressive, not totally my wing of the party, I would say, but he did run a highly disciplined, economy-focused campaign. And if we do that, we will be successful. If we get caught up in a rabbit here and there, we won't be successful. I take your point to heart, Stephen A. It's a very good point. But I just would say that he did run an economic-focused campaign. I mean, I don't think city groceries is going to work, but try it.
The only thing that you're going to have to deal with in the midterms is if the Republicans use that the Democrats are now openly calling themselves socialists and how they play that in terms of the perception of what you want out of the economy. We have 1 minute left on the show. I want to give it to you, Bill O'Reilly. We just got reporting here at News Nation. My friend Tim Burchett from Tennessee, Republican, says there may be a side deal that the Freedom Caucus will vote for this deal, and then what they don't like about it can be remedied later with further legislation or by executive order. Do you buy that?
Yes, absolutely. It is a backroom deal all the time. So that shouldn't be of any surprise, and I believe that the big bill will be passed, and then we'll let the capitalist economy run. And if it works, then Trump will prosper. If it doesn't, his last 2 years will be hellish. And I just want to send a message to Mr. Handsome over there. I got Tuesday open on the No Spin News. I'm going to call my pals, the OJs. They're going to back me up. Yep. So Tuesday,
next Tuesday?
We're going to do the...
All right, I'm into Leland's time.
Accept
the offer. Accept the offer, Stephen, although he may have boxed you in with a date where he knows you're not available. Oh, it's accepted. It's accepted. This is big.
Okay.
James, you get the popcorn.
No Spin News.
You get the popcorn, I'll get the Coronas.
You ain't scared nobody.
Always a pleasure to be on.
Cuomo,
Come on, yours too.
I gotta go. I got Leland Vittert. I don't want anybody upset at me. Bill O'Reilly, I appreciate you.
Nah, we don't need Leland.
No, I gotta get to Leland.
You can bop Leland back.
Look, James is leaving. He's had it. He's moving. James Carville, thank you very much. Stephen A. Smith, thank you. Bill O'Reilly, always a pleasure. I can't wait to see what happens. Leland Vittert, your show starts right now. I'm sorry for the 36 seconds, but there were ramifications and repercussions happening on set there.
You know, I used to live in the Middle East. And I applaud you. There are goat rodeos that are easier to herd than those three guys. So, well done, my friend.
I'm going to take
well
Stephen A's technique, and the next
pay.
time I want to say something to you, I'm just going to say it 6 times. That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
You deserve combat pay. Have a great July 4th, my friend.
You as well. You as well. First one as a married man. Good for you.
Yes. Yes. May the fish be biting for you while you're out there. We'll talk soon.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our News Nation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.